In the 2016 presidential election, the majority of the voting population cast their vote for no one. Nearly half of the population in the United States does not exercise the right to vote. And in the midterm elections, it's even worse. With so many people left out of the conversation, our country does not feel like a democracy. Voter apathy is a problem concentrating a decision-making process that affects hundreds of millions of lives into the hands of relatively few individuals. The presidential election is one of the biggest draws to get people to vote, but it's also one of the biggest reasons that a vote feels like it doesn't matter. Campaigns and media coverage pour ever-increasing amounts of money into the race, but factors like the Electoral College, unsatisfying candidates, and the massive ratio of one vote compared to millions lead to feelings of frustration and powerlessness in many Americans. There are many people who feel disenfranchised to the point where not voting feels like an act of defiance against the system. But this is not good praxis. It is an abdication of power. The votes of others are cast regardless, shaping the political landscape sometimes for generations to come. As Eric Liu, writer and co-founder of Citizens University, puts it, not voting is voting, for everything that you may detest and oppose. Not voting can be dressed up as an act of principled, passive resistance, but in fact, not voting is actively handing power over to those whose interests are counter to your own, and to those who would be very glad to take advantage of your absence. Not voting is for suckers. Regardless of the presidency, one of the particular problems with this disengagement is the impact on statewide and local elections. A single vote for president is a small tally compared to every other vote in the nation. But statewide and local positions, as well as initiatives, referendums, and propositions, are swayed by fewer and fewer people. These elections are much easier to influence with your vote, but also more easily threatened by funding from special interests. And the margins can be very close. In the 2018 election alone, there were 105 races that were decided by less than 100 votes. While there are some candidates that seem like they wouldn't stand a chance in a national election, they could often find the votes in your local area. And winning a local election can win the clout needed to succeed in larger elections. That is how Bernie Sanders' political career took off. After a few failed runs for both the Senate seat and governor of Vermont, Sanders ran for mayor of Burlington and won by a margin of 10 votes. He has since won larger elections, becoming a congressman, senator, and very nearly winning the Democratic Party nomination for president, twice. So what can you do? First, make sure you are registered to vote. Do this as soon as possible, before any deadlines in your state. If you are already registered, double-check your status and make sure your registration hasn't been undermined by a voter roll purge. Next, make sure your friends and family are also registered to vote. The biggest motivator to get people to vote won't come from an argument or a political advertisement, but with encouragement from friends and family. Voting early is important, especially with everything going on in 2020. Voting by mail promotes a huge increase in voter turnout, but not all states do this automatically, so request an absentee ballot to vote by mail, or look for early voting options within your state. If you're mailing in your ballot, do so as soon as possible, or use a ballot drop box if those are available in your state. Early tallied votes make it harder to manipulate. And when you cast your vote, be sure to cover everything down ballot influencing your political landscape as much as possible. Changing the political landscape of a representative democracy can be a difficult, frustrating process, but it can make such a huge difference in the conditions of so many lives. It remains worth the effort. Voting will not fix everything. Changing the world for the better requires activism on many fronts, including getting involved more directly in politics, creating your own media content, or direct action like protests, strikes, and mutual aid. However, even if it is but a small part of the praxis required to better our society, the act of voting remains important. Your vote remains a critical aspect of your voice being heard within a democratic society, and that agency should never be surrendered to others. Thank you for watching our first video. Please like and subscribe for more Praxis U content, and feel free to leave a comment suggesting any future content you would like to see. And remember, don't forget to vote.